نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Dear viewers and listeners, I, your host Sheikh Zaid Ashrafi, is once again in your court, on your television, on your screen. Alhamdulillah, today I have with me a very special guest, a guest who has traveled from far just to come and Alhamdulillah recite for us. And inshallah, he will be reciting for viewers as well. Alhamdulillah, a personality who doesn't need an introduction. But before I introduce a personality to you, please, I request each and every one of you to watch this program from the start till the end. And if you miss any part of it, inshallah, please try and watch it tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning, inshallah. And also do me a favor, call all your family members, relatives, and share this program, because inshallah, after watching this program, they will be inshallah benefiting a lot from the educational talks and from our guests, inshallah. So please do join us in this program and share this program, inshallah. Without any further delay, a personality who's with me, as I said, doesn't need any introduction. He comes all the way from Durban to Pretoria, alhamdulillah, and he's here with us today in the studio, alhamdulillah. A personality who is loved throughout the country, whether they met him or not. None other than Janab Muhammad Sheikh Haidar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mu'azzad Maulana Sahib, Jazakallah for having me here. Alhamdulillah, it's just been an honor and a privilege to be in this beautiful city of Pretoria, Lodium, Johannesburg. Alhamdulillah. And Jazakallah for having me on this beautiful show. Allah bless you and give you barakah, and for all the viewers at home as well. Take it from strength to strength, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you as well. Inshallah, we will start the program with the qira'ah, and guest of honor will inshallah recite few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا صدق الله العظيم.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Very beautiful recitation, alhamdulillah. May Allah reward you. And inshallah, one day bless me with the opportunity to read namaz behind you, inshallah. And enjoy that recitation. Inshallah, Sheikh, could you please recite few verses in the praise of the most praised one, or even if you want to recite manqabat, it's all up to you, inshallah.
Jazakallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulullah wa sallam alayka ya Habiballah तन मन वारा जिसने देखा चेहरा कमली वाले का हो चेहरा कमली वाले का और ए मौला एक बार दिखा दे जलवा कमली वाले का हो जलवा कमली वाले का होगी तलब मेरी ये पूरी दूर करेंगे वो दूरी दूर करेंगे انشاءاللہ ہم دیکھیں گے، انشاءاللہ 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 سب دیکھیں گے روزہ کملی والے کا، ہو روزہ کملی والے کا، اے مولا اے مولا اے مولا ایک بار دکھا دے جلوہ کملی والے کا، اور غوث قطب ابدال قلندر سب ان کے گن گاتے ہیں، سب ان کے گن گاتے ہیں، فرش زمیں پر فرش زمیں پر عرش بری پر چرچا کملی والے کا، ہو چرچا کملی والے کا، تن من وارا جس نے دیکھا چہرہ کملی والے کا، ہو اے مولا اے مولا اے مولا ایک بار دکھا دے جلوہ کملی والے کا.
Subhanallah. And Sheikh, beautiful recitation. Inshallah, please recite a short mankabat as well, inshallah.
انشاءاللہ اللہم صلی علی سیدنا محمد وعلی آل سیدنا محمد واصحابہ وبارک وسلم وسلم علیہ. پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، ان پہ جیتے مرتے ہیں، ان پہ جیتے مرتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، باغ ہے باغ ہے محمد کا، باغ 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 علی زہرا، پھول سے پھول سے پھول سے نوازے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، پھول سے نوازے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، لے لیا ہے چاروں کو مصطفیٰ نے چادر میں، لے لیا ہے چاروں کو مصطفیٰ نے چادر میں، اہل بیت ایسے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، اہل بیت ایسے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں، پانچ نام پانچ نام پانچ نام لیتے ہیں، پنجتن ہمارے ہیں.
MashaAllah, beautiful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and grant you long life with good health, inshallah.
Ameen.
Indeed,
Ameen.
I do know, dear viewers, you might be thinking about his size, but believe me, he has more stamina than most of us over here. Alhamdulillah, last night His Eminence recited for 2 hours non-stop without drinking a sip of water. And Alhamdulillah, we enjoyed the recitation. So please make dua for his health as well. Make dua for his parents as well, inshallah. We will take a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Alhamdulillah, as you know, this is Muharram series, Ahlan wa Sahlan 1445. Alhamdulillah, we just heard beautiful recitations from our guest of honor, Muhammad Sheikh Haidar. And Alhamdulillah, from KZN region, we do have another personality, Alhamdulillah. But he has migrated for a while now in this area of Gauteng. But Alhamdulillah, he's originally from that side. So today, we can say it's a KZN day. Alhamdulillah. We have a personality who is, Alhamdulillah, educated worldly-wise and dini-wise. He is a nuclear scientist as well as alim deen. Yes, you might be thinking, how is it possible? Yes, everything is possible. You can be Hafiz Quran, an accountant. You can be an engineer, an alim deen. You can be anything, but always connect yourself with deen. Deen, Alhamdulillah, is such a beautiful deen that everything is in the deen. If you study deen, you will find everything. Dear viewers, Alhamdulillah, we have with us Hazrat Maulana Ridwanul Qadri, who is, Alhamdulillah, the murid of Allama Khushta Rahmatullah alayh. Let us welcome him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How's your health? Everything is okay?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. We have you in past as well, Alhamdulillah. It's an honor to have you again. But one thing I have to say, we do know your ilm is increasing due to your research and studies. But one thing is also increasing, that is your beauty, Alhamdulillah. You've gone more slim and more fit, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
May Allah reward you. Inshallah, our tonight's topic, dear viewers, is about Imam al-Hussein. Alhamdulillah, the leader of ours in this world and the hereafter. Inshallah, we will be speaking about him. And in past, you heard about him, his virtues and excellence, about his family. But inshallah, today we will hear about that part of Imam Hussein's life where he traveled from Mecca to Medina in order to go to Kufa. Yes, and thereafter the story and the waqi of Karbala took place. So inshallah, we will listen to that part, the journey, and about the qasids which he sent towards the Kufa, and we will listen about his family, especially about Imam Muslim bin Aqil as well. So please stay with us and listen to this beautiful waqiyas.
Jazakallah. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا حبيبي يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, today we are concentrating on the journey of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an from Madinatul Munawwara to Makkatul Mukarramah, and eventually understanding how he ended up being and traveling to the place called Kufa. Now we need to first understand that Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an, from the time he was born, he resided in the city of Madinatul Munawwara, and up until the time of the demise and the passing away of Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala an, he resided in Madinatul Munawwara. After Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala an passed away and Yazid rose as the successor, then he sent letters to the various governors, including the governor of Madinatul Munawwara at the time, saying that he needs to force people to pledge allegiance to Yazid, starting with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an. Now Sayyidina Imam Hussein, he could not pledge allegiance to Yazid because of his vile character, because of him going against the Sharia, and therefore it was against the principles of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam and the principles taught to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an, that he pledged allegiance to such a person of such a vile character. Therefore Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an, in order to prevent strife from taking place in the city of Madinatul Munawwara, he left the city of Madinatul Munawwara and left towards Makkatul Mukarramah, and this took place on the 4th of Shaban in the year 60 Hijri. So this is when he left with a sorrowful heart. He left the city of Madinatul Munawwara, in which he resided his entire life, and he started traveling towards Makkatul Mukarramah. When he reached Makkatul Mukarramah, then a lot of the people from Kufa, they started sending letters to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an, asking him to come to Kufa so that they can pledge allegiance in the hands of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an. And he received hundreds of letters saying to him from the people of Kufa that they will not pledge allegiance to Yazid because he is a tyrant and he is a vile personality, and they are waiting for a Muslim leader, for an Imam in whose hands they could pledge allegiance. And they felt that Hazrat Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an, he was that personality who could fulfill this role of being the Imam, and therefore they invited him to come to Kufa so that they could pledge allegiance in his hands. Now, many prominent and senior companions of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, they were present in Makkatul Mukarramah at the time. Personalities like Hazrat Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala an, Hazrat Sayyidina Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala an, Hazrat Jabir radiallahu ta'ala an, and many other senior companions of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, they advised Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an that the people of Kufa, they are unreliable, they are not trustworthy. And they mentioned that these are the same people that betrayed Sayyidina Mawla Ali radiallahu ta'ala an. These are the same people that betrayed Sayyidina Imam Hassan radiallahu ta'ala an. So how could Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an trust such people and travel towards Kufa based on the letters that they had sent where they promised to pledge allegiance when we know that they are not trustworthy? Therefore, this was the advice that the companions of Huzur alayhi salam gave to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an. Now, as much as Sayyidina Imam Hussein respected the advice of these companions, and as much as he had great respect and honor for the Sahaba Ikram, this was on the one hand the dilemma that he had, and on the other hand, he had an obligation to actually find out what the truth is and what is the sincerity with which these people of Kufa are inviting him. Because if there is a situation according to Sharia, if there is a situation where a nation is being subdued and being oppressed by a tyrant leader, and those people of that nation, they invite a personality who is worthy of leading that nation, and they say to that personality that they are being oppressed and they're inviting that person to come and lead them, then that personality, it becomes incumbent on that person that he go and fulfill that role. Otherwise, he will be held liable for leaving a nation to be destroyed under an oppressive ruler. Therefore, on one side, Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, he had great respect for the advices of the blessed companions of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. But on the other hand, he had no valid Shari'i reason through which he could say that he could not go to Kufa. And therefore, in order to diffuse this dilemma, he decided that he will send his cousin, the son of his paternal uncle, Hazrat Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an, he decided that he will send him as a messenger and see, once he goes and assesses the situation and finds out if the situation is favorable, then Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an, he would proceed to Kufa. And if he would find that the people were not true to their promise, then Sayyidina Imam Hussein will have a Shari'i reason not to go to Kufa. And the Sahaba Ikram, they became pleased with this suggestion and with this plan, because all of them knew that Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam had already foretold about the shahadat and the martyrdom of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an. Therefore, when they started to hear about him traveling towards Kufa, then their hearts started to tremble, because they felt that this is that time that is approaching now when Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an is about to be martyred. This is why they tried their utmost best to convince him not to go towards Kufa. But this situation, this plan that Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an came up with, this pleased them, and they felt that at least before he leaves towards Kufa, that Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an, he can go and assess the situation, and then they would have a better understanding of whether the people of Kufa now are trustworthy or not, and whether they will be true to their promise.
Allahu Akbar, beautiful, beautiful. So, Hazrat, was it first time that Imam Hussein traveled from Makkah to Medina, or he traveled before in order to perform Hajj?
He traveled many times before to perform Hajj to Makkatul Mukarramah, but this was the first time that he was leaving Madinatul Munawwara permanently, because he knew that because of the situation he will not be able to come back to Madinatul Munawwara.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Yes, dear viewers, alhamdulillah, we just heard from His Eminence. We learn a lot from the waqiyat and from the life of Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala. See, to save the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he sacrificed his birthplace. He sacrificed the place which was most loved to him. Who doesn't love Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If you and I get the opportunity to stay in the city of Medina, and even according to the research of the science, the most purest place to live and cleanest place to live is Medina. So who wants to leave that city? Everyone is tired with the things which are happening around us. And who wants to leave that city from the comforts? But look at Imam Hussein. He left his comfort just to save the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah, stay with us, and inshallah we will continue after the break. Welcome back, inshallah. His Eminence will continue from here.
So we were talking about the time when Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala sent Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an to Kufa to see and to assess the situation. And one thing we learned from this incident, before we move forward in terms of what happened, is how important Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala held the Sharia, and how he took cognizance of this in terms of everything else comes second and the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam comes first. And this is what we need to inculcate in our lives when it comes to the Sharia of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam and being obedient to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an, when he went to Kufa and he assessed the situation, within a week of him being there, 1,000 people pledged allegiance to him, and actually pledged allegiance to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala in the hands of Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu an. And within that week, when he saw this happening, and when he saw the support coming from the people, and when he saw that they were true to their promise of supporting Sayyidina Imam Hussein and pledging allegiance in his hands, then he wrote a letter back to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala an in Makkah al-Mukarramah, asking him and requesting him that at his earliest convenience he should proceed to travel to Kufa, because he found the situation to be favorable, and the people of Kufa, they are true to their promise, and they are awaiting the arrival of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu an, so that they can pledge allegiance in his hands. So this is how destiny dragged Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala slowly towards the city of Kufa, because it was in his destiny that he was going to be martyred in the plains of Karbala. And this is how this whole situation unfolded, that even though these people were going to later on, after this letter, they were going to show their true colors, but at this point in time, Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an, he could not see that at that time. All they displayed was their sincerity or their fake sincerity, and through this he wrote this letter, and through this Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala then decided that he is going to leave for Kufa. And even at this point, the Sahaba Ikram, they tried to convince Sayyidina Imam Hussein of not leaving for Kufa, because their hearts were trembling that this is that time that is now approaching in which he is going to get martyred. But again, this was that time now that he did not have any valid Shari'i reason, because the people were proving to be sincere. He did not have any reason that he could not leave for Kufa, and therefore he had to travel towards Kufa. And this is how on the 3rd of Dhul Hijjah he left to travel towards Kufa. Now this is on one side Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, he is now already proceeding on his journey towards Kufa. And on the other hand, in the city of Kufa, the situation actually started to change. And this is because the news started to spread of Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala within the city, and how people are starting to pledge allegiance to Sayyidina Imam Hussein in his hands. And at that time, the governor of Kufa was Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir. He was actually a Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, and he was very soft-hearted towards the Ahl Bayt. And when he found out that Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala an, that he is in the city, and he realized that this is going to cause an uncomfortable situation with the Yazidis and with Yazid's command, then he left the situation and he did not proceed to capture Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil or to do anything with him. And some of the people that were on the Yazid's camp, they felt that he was being very soft, and they actually wrote letters back to Yazid saying that he needs to replace Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir, because he is not dealing with the situation properly. And they actually requested to Yazid that he send somebody that is harsh-hearted, somebody that is very strict, so that they don't use the emotions and they don't make decisions with the emotions. And they started naming him and started calling him names and saying that he is weak. And Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir, he replied that I rather be weak in the sight of the people, but be obedient to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, instead of being labeled as being strong by the people and being disobedient to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. Because this was his love for the Ahlul Bayt and the family of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So Yazid then called his close aides and he had a meeting with them and he asked them for advice. So the advice they gave him was that in this situation you need someone that is harsh-hearted, you need somebody that is strict and somebody that is firm, so that they will take control of the situation and that they will not make decisions based on emotion. Therefore, they advised him that he should appoint Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad as the governor of Kufa, because he has that kind of character and that kind of personality. So he listened to the advice and he then sent Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad to Kufa and replaced Sayyidina Nu'man bin Bashir as the governor of Kufa. Now, one needs to understand how deceptive the Yazidis were and how deceptive Ibn Ziyad also was, that when he was traveling towards Kufa and he wanted to enter into Kufa, he did not do this in a straightforward manner, because he already understood the situation that Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiyallahu ta'ala had gotten a huge following and a huge support from the people of Kufa. And he knew that if he went as Ibn Ziyad, as the person sent by Yazid, then he knew that he would get a lot of interference and he would get a lot of opposition from the people that are the supporters of Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala. So what he decided to do is, he left with all of his men and his soldiers. And as he got close, when he got to Qadisiyah, then at that place he left all of his soldiers behind and he only took about 10 to 20 men with him. And he clad himself in the attire, in the Hijazi attire. And he entered into Kufa from the Hijazi route. And the reason he did this was that people would think that he was Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an. And he did this, he entered into the city of Kufa between the time of Maghrib and Isha, because remember at that time there was no street lights and lights, etc. So as soon as the sun set and the darkness set in, then there was no lights around you. So it was difficult to recognize somebody in the darkness. So he deliberately entered into Kufa from the Hijazi route, wearing Hijazi attire, and entered at a time when it was dark, so that people could not fully recognize him. Now when the people of Kufa, when they saw, and the supporters of Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiyallahu ta'ala an, when they saw this personality coming from the Hijazi route wearing Hijazi attire, they thought that this was Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala, and they became very happy, they became very pleased, and they started to chant, "Welcome, O son of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam, welcome, O son of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam." And all of them started to gather around Ibn Ziyad as he was entering into the city of Kufa. And as he entered, slowly more and more people started to gather, as more and more people started to realize and think that this is Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala who is entering the city. And as he entered the city, and eventually when it came to a point where he was surrounded by so many people where he could not proceed any further, then he started to talk, and then he revealed his reality and showed them that he was actually Ibn Ziyad and not Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an. And this is when he captured all of the leaders of the various tribes, and he captured them and he held them in captivity and he imprisoned them, and he warned all of the people that if they were going to support Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala an, then those people will be killed, their children will be tortured, their wealth will be taken away from them, their properties would be seized, and even all of the leaders, all of them will be tortured and they will be killed. So in this manner, Ibn Ziyad then, he instilled fear in the hearts of the people, and slowly the people, they started to turn away from Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiyallahu ta'ala an. And there came a point where Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil, he went into captivity, he went into exile, and he started to stay away. And when he realized that Ibn Ziyad had entered into the city, and this is the situation, this is the fear that he's instilling in the hearts of the people, then he went and he sought refuge in a certain person's house. And as he was staying there, then he started to understand the situation that Ibn Ziyad is creating in the city, and that there was a command of Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil being captured. And therefore, he started to make a plan of what is the next step that he is going to take.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's very sad how people deceive the Ummah. Even in today's time, people are trying to deceive our own Muslims, our own people around. Ya ayyuhan nas, this is a very bad habit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us. Inshallah, we will hear much more what happened after that, inshallah, after a short break. Welcome back. Inshallah, we will continue from here with His Eminence.
So, we discussed before the break that Ibn Ziyad had sent out the notice and threats and also the command that Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala should be captured. Now at this point in time, he had a very large following, and it is stated that when this happened, then at one point he came with 40,000 men, 40,000 of his followers, and he came and surrounded the entire royal palace of Ibn Ziyad. And his intention was not to create a war, his intention was not to create bloodshed, but rather his intention was to have a discussion and come to a peaceful resolution with Ibn Ziyad, even though he understood that the Yazidis and Yazid himself and his men were untrustworthy, even though he knew that they were unfaithful to the Prophet ﷺ, but he did not want to cause bloodshed with other Muslims. Therefore, he tried to have a discussion. If he wanted at that time, with the amount of people that he had, the 40,000 men that he had, he could have attacked the entire fort, the entire palace, and he could have captured Ibn Ziyad, but he did not want to do this. He wanted to come to a peaceful resolution. And because Ibn Ziyad saw this and he tried to exploit this, so what Ibn Ziyad did was, all of those leaders that he had captured of all of the various tribes, he sent them onto the roof of the fort, and he told them to convince their people of what is going to happen if they continue to support Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala. So they then, all of these leaders that were captured, they came onto the rooftop and they spoke to the people that were standing, those 40,000 people that were standing with Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil. They spoke to them and mentioned to them that if you continue to support Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil and Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, then all of us as your leaders, we will be tortured and we will be killed. Also, your own children will be killed. You will be captured, you will be oppressed, and you will be tortured. And all of your wealth will be captured, all of your homes, your properties will be seized. And therefore, it is important for you to leave the side of Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala. So when the people heard this, and they started to tremble with fear, thinking to themselves the torture and the oppression that they will have to undergo if they continue to be at the side of Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala. And slowly all of these people started to disperse, and this entire crowd started to disperse. And it is mentioned that at the time of Maghrib Salah, when Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, he started to perform the Maghrib Salah in the Kufa Masjid, there were only 500 people with him. Allahu Akbar. Imagine, from 40,000 people, followers that were standing with him, after all of these threats, there were only 500 people that started the Maghrib Salah with him at the Kufa Masjid. And by the time he completed his Maghrib Salah, there was not a single person that stood with him. Even these 500 people had left. So Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu anhu was left stranded. He had no home, he had no refuge. And now he was wandering the streets of Kufa looking for a place to stay. And eventually he came to a place. As he was walking in the streets, he came to a house where he saw a lady. She was standing outside her home waiting for her son to arrive. And he asked her for a glass of water. She was a pious person, so she gave him a glass of water, and eventually she gave him refuge in her home. And she had a son, and even though she loved the Ahlul Bayt, and she loved Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, and she had great love and respect for Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, her son was an alcoholic. And even though she kept it a secret and gave refuge to Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil, her son eventually, he went out and he shared the news of where Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala was taking refuge. And this is when Ibn Ziyad, he sent his men, he sent his soldiers to come and attack Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala in the house of this lady. And when he heard the footsteps from outside, he could understand that the people are here to capture him. And eventually there was a battle that ensued, and he tried to fight them off with his sword, and initially he fought all of them off out the house, but they attacked him again. And at one point, one of the Yazidis, he struck Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala with the sword on his face, such that his upper lip and his bottom lip became cut, and two of his teeth became shaheed, and two of his teeth fell off. And this is when he continued to fight. But at this point in time, the Yazidis, they felt that they were not getting any headway, so they started from the top of the roof, they started to throw stones and even throw things that were ablaze with the fire. And they threw all of these things from the top as cowards until he became injured, until he became tired, until he went to a wall and he was leaning against a wall with tiredness. And at that point in time, they came and they captured him and they took him away to Ibn Ziyad. And when he was taken to Ibn Ziyad, he was crying. And when they thought, because Ibn Ziyad had given the command that he should be killed, and when he started crying, some of the people commented that he is crying because he is afraid now that he is going to be killed and he is going to lose his life. And he said, I'm not afraid for my life. The reason I'm crying is because I am so saddened at the situation of what you are doing to Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, and how you have deceived the family of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. So this is what he was crying over, that he had sent a letter. This is what he regretted, even though he did not do it willingly, even though he did not deceive Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala, but he was crying at the fact that he was the one who wrote the letter to Sayyidina Imam Hussein to come towards Kufa, and now he realizes what the reality is of the situation with the people of Kufa. But it is too late, because Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala is already on his way with his family members and his supporters, and he realizes that this is the same thing that they are going to do with Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala. And Ibn Ziyad then gives the command that Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala should be killed. But he says that he wants it to be such a death and such a killing that this would be the first of its kind in the history of Muslims. So this is the kind of tyrants these people were, that this is the kind of example he wants to set, that he says it must be such a death that people will remember it, that people will be fearful after this. And he gave the command that Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, he should be killed and he should be beheaded. So this is what eventually the men of Ibn Ziyad did. They took him, they beheaded him, and then they took his body and they went to the rooftop of the fortress and they dropped his body from there, because Ibn Ziyad said after he is killed that his body must be dropped from the rooftop so that all of his bones become shattered. Allahu Akbar. So this is the way in which Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala was made shaheed, that he was firstly beheaded and then they took his blessed body to the rooftop and they threw it from there, so that from there it dropped all the way to the bottom. Both his blessed head and his blessed body was dropped. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So this is how Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, he was then made shaheed. And at this point in time, Ibn Ziyad then realized that the two sons of Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, they are still somewhere in the city, because he was given the information that Sayyidina Imam Muslim bin Aqil, when he came to Kufa, he actually was accompanied by his two little sons, Sayyidina Ibrahim and Sayyidina Muhammad. Sayyidina Muhammad was the elder and Sayyidina Ibrahim was the younger son. And it is narrated that either when Sayyidina Muslim bin Aqil radiallahu ta'ala, when he had surrounded the governor's palace, or at that time, or when he was residing at the lady's house in refuge, either one of these points he had sent away his son with someone else, Qazi Shurey, so that they could be in safety. And at this point in time, these two sons, they were still in his custody. And Ibn Ziyad then gave a command that whoever is holding them and giving them refuge, if they are found, then they are going to be punished severely. So this person, what he did then was, he commanded his own son Asad. He told him that he needs to go to a place with the two sons, Imam Muhammad and Sayyidina Muhammad and Sayyidina Ibrahim, radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, and he said, take these two sons, and he gave them provisions for traveling, etc. And he said, you need to get to a point called Bab Iraqin. This is where a qafila, a group of travelers, they are about to leave for Madinatul Munawwara. So he says to his son Asad, go there and make sure that you take these two sons and give it to somebody, give them in custody to somebody there in that qafila who is a lover of the Ahl Bayt, the lover of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam, so that these two children can reach Madinatul Munawwara safely. When they reached this point, Bab Iraqin, they found that the qafila had already left. And they tried, Asad with the two children, he tried to go as fast as he could to see if he could catch up. And eventually they could see dust in the wilderness, and he realized that they had caught up with that qafila. So he says to the two sons that you carry on, there's the dust there, you can see the qafila is moving. Go as fast as you can and reach that point and join them. And then he headed back. But the thing is, destiny was still going to take place, and they were destined to be martyred in Kufa. And as they were, the two of them, they proceeded towards the qafila and they tried to catch up with him, to catch up with the qafila. Eventually that qafila, it sped away and they could not see the dust anymore, and they were left stranded in the middle of nowhere. When this happened, they both held on to each other and they started to cry, and they did not know what to do, and they found it she, and they were trying to find some solace with each other. And eventually the men, the soldiers of Ibn Ziyad, they came and found them and they captured them and they took them and put them in prison. Now the prisoner of that prison, he was also a lover of the Ahl Bayt. So what he did was he took them home at night when everyone was gone home. This prisoner took them home, he fed them, he gave them clothes, etc. And then he even gave them one of his ring as a nishani, as a token. And he told them that they need to leave and go towards Qadisiyah. Once they get there, then they can be on their way to Madinatul Munawwara and they will be safe. So he said, if once they get to Qadisiyah, his brother, he is there as a police chief, and they should show him the ring so that they would know exactly he was the one that sent them, and he will then make the provisions for them to reach Madinatul Munawwara. So he gave them the direction in which they need to live, and then they had left. When they had left, again, this was destiny that they could not leave to go to Madinatul Munawwara. The entire night they journeyed, but somehow they got lost. And when morning came, they realized that they were still in the same spot that they had started off at night. Allahu Akbar. So the entire night, the two of them, they journeyed, and yet they had not gone anywhere out of where they had started off. And eventually they started to cry, and there was a lady that saw them. She was a lover of the Ahl Bayt. She saw them and she took them home, and she started to look after them. She gave them refuge, and after she had given them refuge, she was looking after them, and she did not tell anyone about their whereabouts, because she knew about the hostile situation. And she had a husband, Harith, and he was very greedy for money. And what he did was, when Ibn Ziyad gave a reward and he announced that there will be a reward for anyone who can capture, who finds these two children, captures them and brings them back, then this person, he came, and on that evening, both of the children, they woke up and they were crying. And the one says to the other that I just saw a dream. I saw our father, that he was walking in the gardens of Jannah, and he was there with Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, with Sayyidah Fatima Zahra radiyallahu ta'ala anha, with Mawla Ali and Sayyidina Imam Hassan radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. And Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam asked my father, O Muslim bin Aqil, where are your two sons? And my father replied that soon they will be with us. So when he woke up and he was crying, and when he narrated the dream, his brother also said, I saw the same dream. And they both knew that they were going to soon be martyred. And this is when they held on to each other and they were crying. And this greedy husband, he heard the sound of the crying in the room when they were hiding. And he went and he found them. And he then, in the greed for his wealth, in the greed for the wealth that Ibn Ziyad was going to give a reward, he then took them to a certain place and he martyred both of them. He killed both of them, and he then threw their bodies in the river, and he took their heads and put it into a sack, and he took it to Ibn Ziyad. When he went to Ibn Ziyad, then Ibn Ziyad asked, what is in the sack? And he replied, I'm here for my reward. This is the heads of the two sons of Imam Muslim bin Aqil radiyallahu ta'ala an. And Ibn Ziyad said, but I did not give the command for you to kill them. I asked for them to be captured and brought to me alive, because this is what I said to Yazid. If Yazid has to ask me that he wants to see them alive, what am I going to tell him? And Ibn Ziyad then got very angry at this person, this Haris, and he then gave the command to his men to kill this Haris. So this was his badqismati, that in the greed for dunyavi wealth, in the greed for worldly wealth, he destroyed his akhirah and he destroyed his dunya. He did not get even his wealth, he did not get his dunya, neither did he get his akhirat, and he destroyed both his worlds. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq and the understanding to learn about the battle of Karbala, learn about the entire incident, so that we can understand the history of our own Islam, understand the sacrifices that the family of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala wasallam had to go through in order for us to be sitting here today with Iman.
Allahu Akbar. Jazakumullahu khair, Hazrat Maulana Sahab, for your time and such a inspirational talk you have given us. Indeed, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to learn from our history. Yes, we do know a lot of history. Who made this? Who was the first person to go on moon? Who did that? But we don't know about our own people, those who we claim to love. Ya ayyuhan nas, if we love them, let us first learn about them and then follow their footsteps, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward each and every one of you. Alhamdulillah, I would like to thank His Eminence, Brother Ibrahim, for allowing us to host this program in his house. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant his mother Shifa and his wife Shifa Kamila. Do remember them in your dua. Likewise, do remember one of my colleague in your dua, family member Sahil. He is a 19-year-old boy who's suffering from cancer. Please do remember him in your dua. May Allah grant him Shifa Kamila.
Ameen.
Inshallah, I would like to ask you a few questions from this topic which we discussed today. On which date did Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu leave Madinatul Munawwara and travel to Makkah? There is a date which Hazrat mentioned earlier on. Inshallah, please do mention that. And second question is, what are the names of two sons of Imam Muslim bin Aqil? The two sons' name, as he mentioned, please do mention it. If you do know, reply to me on 064 976 7296. 064 976 7296. I take your ijazat as your host, Sheikh Zaid Ashrafi. Do remember us in your dua. Take care of yourself. Do join us for 9th and 10th of Muharram. We do have a special guest, and inshallah, he will tell us much more about what happened after that, and inshallah about Ashura as well. Take care of yourself. See you tomorrow.